So there's two functions of the mind. Well, there's many functions of the mind, but let's look at two specific functions of the mind. One, we call the surface mind and the intellect. A lot of people call that the mortal mind. And that's the part of the mind that relies on sensory input. It looks at what is it interprets as the physical world. So the things that your eyes tell you are there, and your ears tell you are there, all your senses tell you are there, and then it works kind of like an adding machine. So it says, well, if you do this, then this will happen, and then there's that. So it's the part of the mind that makes our to-do lists, and that does our planning, and that analyzes things, makes suppositions. What a lot of us don't realize is that part of the mind is not capable of creating. It's not capable of directing us. It's not capable of doing anything other than helping us to make our way in the physical world. A lot of what we try to do with this surface mind, with the intellect, is not capable of doing. It's really like a glorified calculator in so many ways. So when we are looking to move beyond our circumstances, when we are looking to expand our lives, to really accept our soul's journey and what our purpose here is, why we came to this world, we have to move beyond that part of the mind, because that part of the mind's not capable of being aware of anything other than what the senses tell it. And so many of us were trained at such a young age that our senses are the only thing to believe, the only thing to work out. A child that starts talking about past lives, or a child that starts talking about things that aren't there according to the five senses, are usually told that they're fantasizing, or that they're making things up, and some poor kids are told that they're lying, So we're trained on a whole spectrum of parental input to not listen to our intuition, to not listen to anything other than the surface mind. The surface mind is made king. And the surface mind, like I said, is really not there to do much other than to help you negotiate your way in this world. It's not there for higher mind functions, because it's not part of the higher mind. So when you have somebody like an Edison, or an Alexander Graham Bell, or Louis Pasteur, any of these major breakthrough scientists, if you read their biographies and things like that, they had very well developed intellects, but it wasn't through their intellects that they made their big discoveries. It wasn't through their intellects that they made these major breakthroughs that have changed the world for the better, for good. The electricity that we have now would never have been able to come into existence if it were just dependent on the intellect alone, because the intellect only knows about what's already there. It doesn't understand what's not there as far as the senses are concerned. So if it wasn't for intuition, we wouldn't have anything good. we would still be wondering when the wheel is going to get developed, invented. So it's important to recognize that even though we've been trained that the surface mind, that the intellect is the most important thing, it's really not where change occurs. So if what we're looking for is to improve ourselves, to expand ourselves, to go beyond where we are, then we have to go beyond the intellect, and that's to go into intuition. The intuition doesn't work in the same way as the intellect. So the intellect works with language. The intellect works with memory. The intellect works with making suppositions about the future based on memories of the past. So the intellect doesn't understand the present moment, because really, if you look at what the senses can perceive, the senses only can perceive the past. The senses cannot perceive anything in the present moment. Anything that's in the physical universe has already happened. Anything that's in the physical universe has already happened. It's already part of the past. We're always looking at history. Everything we see with our eyes or hear with our ears has already happened. It's all the past. So the intellect only understands the past, and it can project ideas about the future based on the past. The intuition, however, doesn't understand the past. The intuition only knows the present moment. And that's one of the reasons why the intuition is so powerful, is because it exists in real time. And most people are only very generally acquainted with their intuition because, like I said, most people were trained out of using it at a very young age. So what is important to understand is that the doorways that we are looking to open, people are always asking, there's like, I think it must be a hoodoo expression, because I'm not a hoodoo practitioner and I'm not trained in that, but there's a big buzzword in magic is, I want a road opener, I want a road opener. Well, I'd never heard of that before because that's not a term that we used when I was growing up in the craft, but I understand what that means. We want doorways to open for us. We want new opportunities. We want to find ways to start to manifest our true desires in this world. And the only way to do that is to follow our intuition, to follow our hunches, to develop our ability to tune into our intuition. It's a fine tuning, and that's how we open those roads. Open those doorways. And without the intuition, there is no way to do that. So a lot of people are like, well, how do I do that? How do I develop my intuition? Well, first of all, you don't really need to develop it because it's already fully functioning. It's just that you need to use it because you're not going to be even aware that it's there until you are allowing yourself to use it. It's like a dial on a radio. It's the radio waves are already there. They're already there. You don't need to like create the radio waves. You need to tune into them. You need to receive them. And so the way to do that is to start following it. Everybody has hunches. Everybody has hunches. Everybody has intuitive pulls. And the way to develop your own understanding of your intuition is to utilize it. Now, if you're not spending quality time alone every day, if you don't have some sort of a meditational or magical practice, spiritual practice, where you're spending quality time alone with the parts of yourself that are not your surface mind, that are not just your intellectual mind, that are not just your mortal mind, then you don't even realize it's there. Your dial is tuned to a different station. So, but if you take time every day, 1, 2, 3 times a day, to just calm your mind, to calm your body, and learn to listen to that other voice, learn to listen to that still small voice within you, then you get used to turning that dial to the intuition so that you are more and more and more aware of the data that are coming into you, that you are receiving, that you were just unaware of before. So remember like I said, that your senses only show you the past. Well, your intellect only can understand the past, but your intuition can help you to utilize your past in the present moment. And this is what I mean by that. A lot of times we look back at our past and we feel bad about it. We feel bad about what just happened or what happened years ago. We feel bad that we missed the mark, or that we didn't do well, or that we made a mistake, or things didn't work out the way that they should. Well, when the intellect takes that, again, it's just an adding machine. It doesn't know any better. It just churns it over and over and over and over again, and then it starts to create based on your past again. Because remember that everything happens through the mind. All creation happens through the mind. And if you're only using your surface mind, then your surface mind is going to continue to churn out your future based on your past. But your intuition sees things differently because your intuition only understands the present moment. So if you allow your intuition to show you a different interpretation of the past, then you can break the cycle. You can break that cycle of miscreation. And the way to do that is, like I said, is just to take time out every day. Take time out every day. Now, what you can do, there's a process that in the magical tradition that I came up with was called reverie, but many different magical traditions use it. And this is a daily exercise that I recommend that everybody do. And this is another thing that's really, really helpful for building your faith and with your intuition. And before you go to sleep at night, you just go over your day. You just go over that day, and you remember. You just kind of like try to go from the moment you woke up all the way through to the end of the day, just really quickly, kind of like scanning your day, and then stopping at any place that gives you a little bit of a inside, that gives you a little bit of tension or upset or regret or something that's the opposite of peaceful. And then you stay there for a second, and then you ask that your intuition guide you. And what your intuition can do is it can show you an alternative way that can be interpreted. An alternative way that can be interpreted, so that you are now making peace with that, and that you are releasing it, and that you are completing it, so that you no longer recreate it. Now, there's another, you can take that to an even farther degree by recreating in your mind the way that you would have preferred that to happen. And you can ask your intuition for help with that. So let's say you had let's say that you lost a sale. Let's say you're a salesperson and you lost a sale. And it was something that was really, really a good sale for you, and that you were really, really counting on that income, and you lost it. So you lost all that commission, and you had nothing but regret, and you felt really, really bad about that. Well, your surface mind is just taking that, and it's going to only add 2 + 2 to equal 4, and then project that into the future, so that it recreates it on some level or another. It's going to create your future at some level based on your past. Now, if you ask your intuition to look at this instead, your intuition can say, well, what would you have rather have had that be? Well, I'd rather have had the sale, Well, let's look at that. Let's go through a scene where that happened differently. And when you do that, when you can recreate that scene differently than the way it happened, and you can create it the way you would have preferred to have it happened, you're not technically changing your past, obviously, but what you are doing is you're changing your relationship to the past, and you're giving your deep mind a new imprint about what you want in the future. So it doesn't make sense to the intellect that you can recreate your past, that you can change your past, but the intuition understands it perfectly. The intuition understands it perfectly. So it's another way that you can really get your intuition to work with you, is by utilizing it to heal your past. Heal your past. And one way that you can heal your past is, like I said, to make peace with it the way it was. And another way you can heal your past is you can recreate it in your mind the way that you want, the way that you would have preferred it happened. Okay? Now, the other thing about the intuition is that let's say you're doing a spell for a new job. Let's say you're doing a spell for a new job, and you know that you've done your due diligence, like we always say. You've gotten all of the I's dotted and the T's crossed. You know exactly the kind of job you want. You know what industry. You know how much money you want to make. You've done all of that, and then you've done the this or something better exercise, where you recognize that you're not only going for a specific type of job, but you're really, really open for whatever the universe has in store for you, that it's going to be at least as good as what you've come up with, but you're really, really hoping for something even better that you don't even understand how that could possibly happen, right? Well, since you don't understand how that possibly could happen, your surface mind definitely doesn't understand how that could possibly happen. So your surface mind doesn't even compute the something better. It can't even comprehend the something better. All it can comprehend is what it's come up with. So that's when you want to move you thank your surface mind for doing its job, and you move off of that and into the intuition. And so what you say is, please show me a definite sign. Please show me where to go. Please give me a lead. Please tell me what to do, where to go, how to be, so that I can have this manifestation be the best thing that's possible for all concerned. And then you just either, if you don't get anything right away, that's fine. Know that it's coming. But being in tune with what your hunches are, boy, that can be a challenge for people. What do I feel? Where do I want to go? What am I being pulled to? Even if it doesn't make any sense to me. Even if it doesn't make any sense to me, why would I want to go to that store? I never go to that store. Well, I'm being pulled to that store, so maybe I'll just follow it. And I go into that store, and lo and behold, there's a whatever. There's a new management position that's open that I didn't even know was possible. I went in there, I gave my resume, and they said, "Oh yeah, blah 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 blah. We have this new thing, but actually you'd be better for blah 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 at the corporate office. Let's set up an interview or whatever." You know what I mean? But because you were able to follow your intuition, you were able to go into the place that your spell wants to manifest. Whereas if you were just listening to your surface mind would never even compute with that. It would never say, "Oh yeah, let's go to this store." It wouldn't even be on its radar, because it's just an adding machine. It doesn't know how to do that. It's not connected to the infinite universe, to the infinite intelligence that can guide you and direct you and lead you where you need to be, right? So the problem is not that you don't have intuition. The problem for most of us is that we've kind of lost touch with it, and we've let it go dormant, and so we don't even think about going there. When you know that you're using your intuition over your intellect when things happen easily, when things happen quickly, when things happen unusually, when things just kind of work out. That's you being intuitive, because again, if you work in magic, you've already planted the seed. You've already put everything into motion. But now on the other side of it, you have to be led. You have to be guided to which road you're going to go in order for you to achieve that or receive that manifestation. And the only way to do that is by opening your intuition. Now, the surface mind is not a bad thing. So I don't want to ever get misunderstood. It's not that the surface mind is bad. It's just that it cannot function in present time. It cannot function in the realms that infinite intelligence functions in order to communicate to you to get you where you need to go. The only way you can do that is to go through the intuitive mind. And so let's take some time this week to daily. Let's commit to maybe a minimum of once a day for the next 7 days. Let's commit to a minimum of once per day for the next 7 days, if you don't already do it, that you're going to spend quality time alone. Now, you may already have a meditational practice, and that's fine, but this is not necessarily only that. So let's say you're doing like the magic minute type of meditation where you're focusing on a phrase. After you're done with that, just sit there. Just sit there and listen. You can even ask, just say, "Please guide me. Where should I go? What should I do? Who should I talk to? What should I say? How should I be? Where am I best used?" And then just sit there and listen. And don't worry if you don't get anything. You will. It'll come later if it doesn't come right then. It's just the ability of listening and asking that is not utilized very often. And so if you start doing that, then you will start receiving that. It's very similar to when people say, I don't remember my dreams. And I say, "Well, do you want to remember your dreams?" "Oh yeah, I want to remember my dreams." "Okay, well, this is how you do it. You take a little notebook and you put it by your bed, and every morning you write down your dreams. Now, if you don't remember your dreams, you just make an entry. I didn't remember my dreams. And you do it again the next day. Write down, so as soon as you wake up, write down your dreams. Well, I didn't remember my dreams. That's fine. Just put the next entry in. I didn't remember my dreams. You do that for just a few days at the most. Usually you start remembering your dreams because you've started to basically ask your deep mind to give you some insight, to give you recall, right? Because you've been making that entry. You're making that entry into your journal every single day. I want to remember my dreams. I want to remember my dreams. So I didn't remember my dream, but I wrote it down. So after a day or two of that, maybe 3 days most, you're going to start remembering some of your dreams. And you're going to be not writing, I didn't remember my dream. You just got a little bit of a dream. And then the next day you'll get more of the dream and more of the dream and more of the dream. This is the same thing. You haven't been using your intuition very well, maybe. So at first, you're not going to get much, but that's okay because you're sitting there and you're saying, I'm open and receptive to receiving that which I need to know. Please show me where to go, what to do, blah, 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 blah. And then you sit there, you'll either receive something or you won't. But what you'll notice is even if you don't receive it in that meditation, you're going to get flashes through your day. You're going to get flashes of intuition much more than you used to because you've been asking for it and you've been sitting there and you've been waiting for it. And that waiting for intuition and asking for intuition is all that it takes to get that pump primed so that you can start receiving those intuitive flashes. And then when you can get to the point where you have a balance of intellect and intuition, boy, you're pretty much unstoppable. It's not that you're ever going to lose your ability to have intellect. You're not going to lose your ability to have a surface mind. You don't have to worry about that. It's just that it won't be so out of balance for you. You'll have intuitive mind and surface mind, and you'll be able to have a balance of the two. Whereas right now, the bulk of the people that I know have a really well-developed surface mind, and they don't even realize that they have much intuition. I mean, occasionally they'll know who's going to be calling when they, well, they don't even have that anymore. But before caller ID, you'd know who was calling before you picked up the phone, or you'll think of somebody and then they'll call you. So you would get little bits of it, right? But when you are actively working on your intuition like this, you live an intuitive life. And when you can live your life intuitively as a highly developed intuitive instrument, your intuition is your whole self, is becoming much more highly developed and much more highly tuned, then you live a magical life. You live a magical life. And the more you are living through your intuition, the easier things are, the better things are. Things happen much more quickly, right? All right, so this week, like I said, I want you to take at least once a day. If you can manage it, twice a day, where you're going to sit after any kind of regular normal practice. This doesn't have to supersede anything, but after your normal magical practice, if you have one, you're going to sit and just ask. Ask. You don't have to do anything ritualistic. You don't have to do anything special. Just ask. Infinite intelligence, guide me. Where should I go? What should I do? What should I say? Who should I say it to? And then just sit there. Give yourself a good, couple minutes of sitting in the silence. And then you'll either get something or you won't, and it doesn't matter. But you know that you've plugged yourself into it. And if you keep plugging yourself into it every day, you're going to start getting more flashes and more flashes. Then your job is to follow those hunches, to follow them. The more you follow them, the more you are engaging in that intuition, the more you're going to get those hunches to follow. And it becomes much more powerful. It starts to snowball. And like I said, then you start living much more magical of a life, and you notice things happening much more easily, much more mystically. A lot of things, strange things start happening, strange to your surface mind anyway, but very normal to the intuitive mind. And you no longer are a slave to your surface mind and to your senses. They're just another utility. Your surface mind becomes just another part, basically another part of your body. So it becomes more of a brain function, and you no longer are identifying with that as much as identifying with that soul knowledge, the knowledge of your soul that has always existed and has always been broadcasting to you. It's just that you've never been receptive to it. All right, well, this has been great. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate it. I cannot wait to work with you again. And until that time, blessed be.